Breaking just moments ago, the Florida Board of Governors rejects the hiring of Santa Ono as the new president at the University of Florida. I don't think either of us are what I say. I am surprised. I am surprised, but this was always a possibility.
Listen, what I'm more surprised about is that you didn't have the votes before you went ahead and hired dude. Like you didn't think to consult the Board of Governors about whether they would be comfortable with a guy of Santa Ono's how shall we put it? Notoriety currently. You didn't think to run that by the folks that had to approve it. You didn't think that was like, you didn't think you needed to do that this would just be a stamp of approval? Because I remember the statement, and I didn't have time to go and find it, but I remember what you said in your statement, which was, hey, this guy, led a great educational system.
He's amazing.
He's amazing, and everything's awesome.
He is sliced bread of presidents.
Turns out not everything is actually awesome, and not everybody agrees with that assessment.
It was not close. It was 10 nays to 6 yays, which is not close. He had to be unanimous to get approved. He was not. I don't know how else to say this other than, can we still argue that the stain of Michigan now? I mean, are you really able to make the argument that Michigan's brand has not been damaged by the Santa Ono era? Whether it was, and if you want to use the DEI stuff, whatever you want to point to, I'm going to point to the Jim Harbaugh scandal. I am going to point to just absolute anarchy in the football department. No rules being followed, allegedly. You look at the basketball stuff with Juwan Howard under Santa Ono, and then you throw on top of that the political environment on campus in Ann Arbor. It's a disaster. It is absolutely a disaster. And again, I go back and I tell you, for what did you do all of this? You destroyed the legacy and the reputation of a great university at the University of Michigan. For what? For what? Because Santa Ono, for every significant policy, and again, whether it was, diversity and inclusion, he has apologized for that. Whether it was Jim Harbaugh and the sign stealing stuff, he's apologized for that. Like, is there anything that went on during Santa Ono's term at Michigan that people can be proud of? And I'm sure there is. That is still, and I know it seems outlandish to say, that is still one of the best academic institutions in our country. You just don't know it anymore because it is scandal ridden and it is controversy ridden and it is buried under 10 layers of BS during the Santa Ono era.
We did what we did.
And now he cannot even get a job at Florida. And with all due respect to the University of Florida, I would think that Michigan is a far more attractive job. That's a much bigger job. That's a much more high profile job. And you lost 6 to 10 out of 16 voting members. Only 6 said yes. That's a landslide in the wrong direction for Santa Ono.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitive. And I also think that it makes a very clear stance on what the Board of Governors in Florida, is going to put up with. And I think that, for all you people out there thinking, no punishment, NCAA is not going to do anything. This is no big deal. It's going to blow over. I don't think it's no big deal. And I also think that if you're the Board of Governors, you know a lot more about the NCAA's evidence and what's coming down the pipe than I think the public does, I would guess. And I think you're not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
And it's amazing. Santa Ono, it's not like he got fired or run out of Ann Arbor. Santa Ono left Michigan to go and be the boss at Florida. And now Florida said, nah, we're good. Thanks. That's the amazing part. Michigan would happily still have Santa Ono as its president. And it goes back to being scumbags, frankly. You have an athletic director that, in my opinion, is absolutely an embarrassment and a blight on ethics and integrity and making of men. I think that he has humiliated the University of Michigan with this college football playoff debacle that, quite frankly, is squarely on the shoulders of Ward Manuel because he completely ignored strength of schedule and tried to screw Ohio State, who frankly turned around and was like, nah, we're good. We're just going to go win the most difficult national championship anybody's ever won. And then you got run out of that system, and they had to completely change the system because Ward Manuel is such a fraud and an embarrassment. Never mind Matt Weiss allegedly, stealing nude photos by breaking into social media accounts and hacking networks to get access. Never mind Jimmy was just out there, Monty, he was just out there feeding hungry kids. Cheeseburgers for breakfast. Nobody said he was a dietitian, but he is a humanitarian. Yeah, it turns out that was all BS.
Dangerous misinformation.
Then you have the vacuum salesman. Well, Balake Corum, he was never, I didn't.
No.
But you have that whole controversy.
What?
You have the sign stealer guy. All of that under Santa Ono. And you're going to sit here and tell me, oh, well, God, Santa Ono he had a better opportunity. So, and I love the Michigan guy who apparently now has morphed into the Texas State guy after yesterday's show. But I love the Michigan guy who's like, oh, Santa Ono, he was our guy. And he left and he took a better job.
I want the best people.
Santa Ono is an embarrassment. Michigan is a complete and utter failure as an institution.
Got to be America's team.
How else do you describe it?
I don't know.
And I just continue to go back and say, whose fault is it? Well, it's not Jim Harbaugh's fault.
Sign stealer guy.
He didn't know. It's not sign stealer's guy because he was just doing his job and then he got fired.
Well, Monty.
Ward Manuel, he doesn't. And I love the Michigan guy who's like, well, it's not Ward Manuel's fault the football program was doing that, but then it's Jim Harbaugh's fault. No, Connor Stallions was a lone wolf. Okay. So at what point does Michigan fan and a Michigan man when do you wear the badge of responsibility for just what an incredible dumpster fire and just a humiliating steaming pile of garbage that Michigan has become?
Oh dear. Oh my.
You destroyed the ethics and integrity and reputation of the University of Michigan for a championship now that nobody recognizes or says is a legitimate championship.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Nice
Congratulations.
job, guys. Really nice.
Well done, friends.
Nice.
Well done. I'm amazed by it. I'm amazed by it.
Truly the cherry on top of the whole thing, because now you can't deny that there's a stench. There is a stain. There is whoa, you guys are radioactive up there in Ann Arbor. We want nothing to do with that.
And I agree with the chirping that went on the show last week when we talked about Santa Ono. I've never said that Santa Ono left because of that scumbag Jim Harbaugh and that absolute embarrassment of an athletic director in Ward Manuel. I've never said that's why he left. I think it was a footnote in the reasons he left, but there's no question the absolute irresponsibility of the environment that Santa Ono oversaw on campus politically. That's the main reason he left. And I also think it's awesome that during the time where people were, should we hire him? Should we not hire him in those meetings at Florida? What were they bringing up? Well, the basketball program at Michigan, the Matt Weiss scandal, the football program, all that stuff as a footnote to, well, look at the political atmosphere.
Well, Monty.
And the worst part is, and it doesn't matter what side of the DEI line you're on, because some of us are on one side, some of us are on the other side.
What else is new?
That's how America works. That's what makes this country amazing. Santa Ono doesn't stand for either side because he was one of the staunchest proponents of DEI on campus. And then when it was no longer cool to be a staunch proponent, I pulled that back. So are you, aren't you? when you're neither, and in the when there is a vacuum of leadership, people step up and try to lead, and you don't always want those people leading. And that's how you get Ward Manuel, and that's how you get Jim Harbaugh, and that's how you get Matt Weiss, and that's how you get Juwan Howard. That's how all this nonsense happens. So we can sit here and we have conversations about how, oh, Santa Ono, he wasn't one of us. Well, he was the boss of your university during the worst time in history for that university, where you actually walked away with a trophy that now nobody recognizes and everybody realizes isn't a legitimate championship.
Cheating, lying, and then playing the victim.
And Santa Ono, the same guy who wanted to make Jim Harbaugh the highest paid football coach in the history of the sport.
And give him immunity at one point until they realized they couldn't do that. So just saying, you know, goes
it's
around and
amazing
comes
to
around,
me.
doesn't it?
It's amazing to me that Santa Ono, who, again, I want to remind you, Santa Ono was not fired from Michigan, was not asked to leave Michigan, was not under the threat of being fired. No, because Santa Ono is the exact kind of person and the exact kind of administrator that Michigan loves to have around. And I see the track record. Juwan Howard, Jim Harbaugh, Ward Manuel, Santa Ono. They love having that kind of loser failure of a leader in positions of authority at Michigan because they continue to do that. You just extended Ward Manuel, who is one of the worst athletic directors in the history of the Big Ten, and continues a trend in the Big Ten of scandals, not protecting the overall safety of students. Can anybody explain to me how Matt Weiss was made possible? Well, I can. A lack of oversight. A lack of oversight.
Oh, but Monty, he was a lone wolf.
So much so that one day the FBI knocked on your door and hung out for like weeks at a time on campus. And remember when I said, oh, hey, the FBI's on campus at Michigan. Oh, it's nothing. There's nothing here. This is Connor Stallions and vacuums. And oh my God. Yeah, it turned out it was much more than that. It was sex crimes, and it was images of reportedly, allegedly students that he broke into a database and stole passwords and then took their nudes off of social media channels. Other than that,
that's
Connor,
fucking interesting, man.
Other than that, it was all about Connor Stallions emptying vacuum bags, you know.
Donnie, you're out of your element.
Turns out it wasn't.
Quote, it's nothing, Monty.
This is a nothing burger.
Get the hell out. Yeah, quite literally for Jim, isn't it? Quite literally for Jim. It'll blow over, Monty.
Listen, those kids were hungry, and it's not Jim Harbaugh's fault that he's so generous. He bought so many cheeseburgers that, of course, one landed on the table at what just happened to be the same diner where Jim was having a cheeseburger for breakfast, where he claimed or didn't claim because he refused to sit down for a meeting with the Committee on Infractions, but claimed and then didn't claim in stuff that he never met the kid. And then when they said, well, hey, look at these text messages, look at these phone calls. And then all of a sudden, yeah, Jim Harbaugh's memory got exponentially better. Like,
what?
I mean, it's amazing how that works. Connor Stallions was a lone wolf.
Hell no.
Blake Corum wasn't on that.
Bro, do you, for all the
Blake Corum wasn't on that
Stallions,
LLC.
Dude, for all the Connor Stallions, Dyson salesmen out there, do you guys feel like idiots now? Like, can we come to the middle and, come together in the Monty Show universe to say that, yeah, he wasn't a lone wolf. Jim is a scumbag, and all the guys underneath him. I mean, this is, this is like out of a mafia movie when they've got the whole, family out on the whiteboard, and they're like, oh yeah, he did this and you did that, and Jimmy was responsible, and he didn't happen, by God's will to show up at the same burger diner. They, like, come on, dude.
At the same university where they
bro.
gave Ward Manuel a contract extension.
Come on, dude.
When he was the athletic director over one of the worst football scandals we've ever seen, and over Juwan Howard's time as the basket. Oh, well,
Because it's garbage.
Juwan Howard. Oh, we all forget about Juwan Howard.
Who's the lone wolf in the Juwan Howard situation?
Yeah, how do you just explain? Oh, but Ward Manuel and oh man, Ward is a humiliating embarrassment who absolutely derailed the college football playoff to try and screw Ohio State.
You couldn't even do that correctly,
You
bro.
couldn't even put your knuckle deep in Ohio State when you had the chance. And they go on to win what is the best national championship in the college football playoff era. And people are laughing at you and realize that your championship is actually not really a championship. And Blake Corum was actually, in fact, on that LLC. Now, here's the question I ask. If there was forgery, which is what was purported, how come there's no, forgery charges pending against Connor Stallions?
I don't know. I don't know if I don't know quite. I don't quite know how to answer that, to be honest.
Because it's illegal for coaches and players to be business partners. It's quite literally.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, it's quite literally an NCAA bylaw that coaches and players can't be in business together
Because it's illegal.
Oh, but it was his name in the LLC and the forgery.
Yeah, they weren't in business together. It was just Sign Stealer Guys LLC.
No, it's not Sign Stealer Guys.
Come on.
It's Lone Wolf.
Oh, Lone Wolf LLC.
Come on, man.
Come on, dude.
Come on, man.
Be better, bro.
I think it is. It's
thank
amazing.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to the Board of Governors in Florida for making us look really good.
Is it a rule now that
thank you.
people have to break news right when the show starts? Is that the newest rule?
Yeah, Monty over here, getting breaking news information like 5 seconds before the show as usual, and then this comes out, and then I can't remember who's reporting it, but the ACC and Florida State and Clemson are officially closed in their settlement. That's all done now. So
that can't be true because the ACC's melting down and Florida State's going to the Big Ten.
Everyone's leaving.
That conference doesn't exist anymore, right?
And Notre Dame's going to the Big Ten with
That's
UNC.
right. Thank you. Well, as soon as the ACC's done, as soon as we find fraud in that ESPN contract,
there's a smoking gun.
So predictable.
You're a homer is the first part.
Delaric, good afternoon to you, my friend. Curso is getting a ring. Caruso, you mean, is getting a ring? Yes, he is. Because I'm telling you now, OKC's winning that series. Wow, Tyrese Halliburton. Anything you want to say about your no-show contract, Tyrese Halliburton?
Yeah. Finals performance will speak for itself.
Okay.
They won the series, didn't they?
It always feels good to start the show being validated with what we told you.
Here I am.
TJ Beck, will any G5 be able to offer profit sharing at any level? Maybe not. And we probably, the Texas State contingency on this show yesterday in the comments section, if you guys go back and look at the comments on YouTube from yesterday's live show and then the uploads from it's wild how many Texas State fans are losing their minds.
Listen, I tried to give you guys the loyal, to the death supporters of the Monty program. I tried to give you a break today. I did a Knicks title, wrote out a nice Knicks narrative, did a thumbnail, tried to get us in the NBA early so we could laugh at Ryan Smith and laugh at the Knicks and, laugh at everything.
Heavens forbid we would talk something other than college football on this show.
God forbid we wouldn't have, Texas State trying to get into the Pac-12 as a headline. And then here we are.
The most poorly run university in the country just can't get out of their own way because the guy they didn't fire now can't get hired at Florida.
You fucking donkey.
Monty.
Hey, Michigan, it's me, Santa. Oh, Merry Christmas, Santa. No, Santa Ono. Oh, how you liking the Sunshine State, buddy? Well, actually...
Well, Monty, it's a little bit humid, but I was really calling because, the Board of Governors rejected me and I'd like to come back. And,
great. Let's make you the highest paid president ever in the history of education here in North America, ever.
But listen, Monty, I'm going to need full immunity from the FBI, even though you can't give that to me, okay?
It's ridiculous. Nacho Libre says, greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Nightmare. Good afternoon, Monty, Jakey, Two Shakes. Everyone hit the like button.
Yes, hit the like button.
Please do. Backwoods, sexy Mike Smith. Mike, how are you, man? Good to see you. Why I can't put your comments up, I don't know. There we go. Hello. Sergeant Morhew. Hello. Jesse Crum. Hello. Phil Venzer. Who will be the first person to get filtered today? I don't know. Has anybody been filtered today yet?
I personally would like an apology.
Nobody's been filtered yet.
Well, we're only 24 minutes in. I mean, I think yesterday, we were about 40 minutes into somebody else, getting filtered.
I mean, that could happen, such as in welcome Alex Reyes to the membership.
Hey, Alex.
Alex, appreciate you supporting the show, my friend. Thank you very much for that. He joins our entry-level membership, which means his name will be highlighted and his comment will be read. Now, already, do we read non-member comments today? Because there's already one well-known jackwagon in the comments section.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, I believe his name is Ferris Khan. Poncho, am I here? Do I exist? Is this thing on? No, it's not. You don't, and no.
Okay, what's his other comment? Is his other comment a Ferris-esque comment?
Poncho Cornwallis. Oh, God. Who are you, Eric Wasikowski? The best team in baseball is the Detroit Tigers, who have played nobody.
Bro.
I think it is important to point out this fact at this time. Also, there are 2 emojis. Does your team have 2 emojis? Okay. I'm talking about Santa Ono in Michigan, and all you've got is the Detroit Tigers. But okay. San Diego State Glenn, cough, cough, still here. Good day, people. Ooh, hope you're feeling better. I would also like to point out, I made it through the entire show yesterday. Don't believe I coughed one time.
Well, congratulations, dude.
Don't believe I coughed one time. Poncho reaction incoming. Don't lead him on. Eric Wasikowski, Tigers first team to 40 win. Bro, it's the White Sox.
Talk to me, dude. Talk to me in August, bro.
Why do you think I'm not getting excited about the Cubs?
Yeah, like
it is.
Come on.
It is early. Now, Detroit by far right now is got the best record in baseball. 2 games better than the Mets, 3 games better than the Cubs, and 4 games better than the Yankees. But if you'd have told me that the Chicago Cubs would have the best offense in baseball, and it is June 3rd, I would laugh at you. I would laugh at you. Do you know how many bad things have happened to baseball teams in August and September? There is a long way to go. But I agree, Detroit fans, you have almost nothing to hang on to. The Lions continue to stomp on your nuts. The Pistons, well, that is what it is. The Red Wings, yeah, they suck too. So having Javi back with the Detroit Tigers, I say El Tigre's up. El Tigre's up. Go get them, right? Yeah. I got no bone to pick with the Tigers.
Stay hard.
The fact that the Tigers also have one of the better staffs in baseball is pretty amazing. So I give you credit. So wait, the infamous Shady, and those are the nice words, President. You don't want him associated with your university. Gator's finally getting something right.
Dude.
I think it's a huge move. Here's Poncho on Santa Ono. This ought to be rich. Santa Ono left Michigan because of non-football reasons. No, he did not. He was not fired. He was not asked to leave. It was not Michigan who told him to go. It was not. It was all over his reaction to protesters. No, it was not. Santa Ono, under no circumstances, and this has been much publicized and talked about during this hiring process, Michigan, under no circumstance, asked Santa Ono to leave. They were, in fact, shocked that he was even considering the job at Florida. Under no circumstance did Michigan ask Santa Ono to leave. Under no circumstance. TJ Beck, Florida just didn't want a burger cook in their kitchen. Chef Santa Ono.
See what he did there?
Handing out cheeseburgers.
Right.
Big Pontiff.
Hey, Pontiff.
The Pope says it doesn't matter why he left. He has the stink on him. Truth.
Facts.
And I think that's a really interesting point. I think there is a stain on the University of Michigan that is going to take some years to get away from. And if, in fact, it does come down and you are hit pretty hard by the Committee on Infractions, which I would think here in the month of June we will finally get determinations on. If that, in fact, happens, dude, you are It is going to be a long road back.
Yep.
Because I think this is one of the rare situations where we've ever seen a university completely collapse from a lack of leadership. And if you look at Santa Ono, he has full authority and oversight of the athletic department. And when you hire bad people, Santa Ono, Ward Manuel, Jim Harbaugh, I mean, the list is endless. It's Matt Weiss.
Yes.
Connor Stallions. And listen, I old ball coach that's there now. Is that the guy who restores the glory to Michigan? Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Doesn't matter if he's guilty or innocent. He has the stank of Harbaugh on him.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly right. Word timeout. Jeremiah Champion. Joseph Harper. Santa Ono had to leave Michigan. Michigan only has room for one Slim Shady. There you go. There you go. Santa, you know the sad thing? I think Santa Ono is actually good at his job. But when you are defined by what happens when you have challenges, controversies, there's always going to be people making mistakes when you have the enormity of humans that it takes to run a university. But you can, under no circumstance, send the message to your faculty and staff that Jim Harbaugh should have been the highest paid coach in the history of college football. He's a scumbag loser who won nothing without cheating. And what should have been the pinnacle, the highest of highs, very quickly has turned into a scandal-ridden, tainted, now unrecognizable, now illegitimate championship. Because you allowed all of that to roll downhill. If it's just, hey, what should our philosophies be? What direction should this university take? I think Santa Ono, fine guy. Hey, but there's all these, Israel-Palestine protests on campus. Yeah, that's not the guy you want handling that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Jim Harbaugh. Well, let's put Harbaugh aside for a minute because we've got this thing with Juwan Howard where he's allegedly getting physical in the handshake line.
Oh.
Pipe him down. Give him the largest basketball contract anybody's ever seen anywhere. Go look up what the highest paid coach in the history of global basketball is. Give that to Juwan. I'm sure he'll settle down.
It'll make him feel good,
Okay, but this Jim Harbaugh thing, it's a huge scandal. We got caught stealing signs. The FBI's on campus.
But who cares about that? I mean,
should we fire him? Like, how do you want to release the news that we're going to fire him? Fire him. Offer him the biggest contract we've ever seen, and why don't we make sure that no matter what happens with the NCAA, we insulate him from that? Because that's what it kind of feels like, in my opinion, happened on that campus. Maybe with some, adjectives thrown in there.
Right.
I fully support the rejection of Ono. There are a lot of politics on this vote. I'm concerned about the search and who is leading it. Tension between governors and the trustees is still high. How do I say this gently? If this was just South Florida and Miami and Dade County and the wildness that happens in South Florida politics, you could almost understand that, right? Yeah, this is statewide politics, and this is DeSanctimonious getting absolutely bag slapped and then trying to fight back. And politics in Florida right now is
rough,
a mess. And I don't know that there's an easy out on it. I truly do not. I'm going to start handing out word timeout slips. Everyone that makes a dumb comment. Okay.
You're welcome.
Wasikowski, we appreciate your service, Jeremiah. DEI scam was the reason Ono left. I think he left. I think Santa Ono left because he didn't want the project of fixing what he had broken.
Hold on one second here. So when we're talking about Santa Ono leaving and your beloved Michigan and anything to do with, Michigan sports, pro or collegiate, you just take the story at face value. But if we talk about Elon or we talk about, whatever it might be, oh, no, it's fake news. This is completely ridiculous. He didn't leave because of the DEI thing, did he?
No.
He left because they're going to get that ass beat by the NCAA.
Correct.
And he's going to look awful in that process. And now already looks awful through this process.
Yeah, I think it is going to be very interesting to see what is the upshot of all this at Michigan. I'm very curious to see how all this play out. Pancho, Monty has more information that is credible than your opinion. And we okay, that's a lie to say we don't try to tell you that. The only difference between
No, I guess not.
the only difference between us and the garden variety sports fan is we talk to the people we talk about. On this show, and I think we've made this promise to you, and we have kept it. Promises made, promises kept. We have said we're not going to talk about people until we talk about those people until we talk to them or as close to them as we can get. And it just so happens on the Big Ten and the Michigan stuff, we just know people. Man, I've been in this business for 30 years. This isn't a hobby. I'm not sitting in my mom's basement, right? Like, this is what we do. And we've been right about Michigan. We know what happened with Santa Ono because we know people involved. Like, anybody that's telling you Santa Ono was fired by Michigan is completely wrong. Could not be wrong. Wasikowski says 23 champs. Well, enjoy it because you're the only one who thinks that. There is nobody in the college football world that recognizes what that scumbag Jim Harbaugh did and his entire staff at Michigan. There is nobody who Jim Harbaugh could not beat the Little Sisters of the Poor and then all of a sudden couldn't lose a football game to anybody.
And now it's all bored out, bro. It's all proven.
With J.J. McCarthy as his quarterback. Like, are you out of your mind? And then your scumbag athletic director is like, well, here, let me screw Ohio State as hard as I can by giving them one of the most impossible paths to a national championship of college football that anybody's ever seen. And dude, they absolutely piped you. And he is a complete and utter embarrassment. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. All right, a couple more on this. Can hacker you, cheater you, just leave the Big Ten? I think it's possible, but I'm not sure. It is what it is. Love Muscle R. Okay, wait. You are a love muscle or love muscles are? Okay. For $2, my Nevada Wolfpack can only get better. Yes, they can. I'm telling you, UNR. Okay, we're 30 minutes into the show. Who's filtered? Amazing. It's fine. It's fine. Poncho says Michigan's faculty and board. No, they did not turn on Santa Ono. At no time was he ever in jeopardy of losing his job.
Why do you think he left?
At no time. Was there synergy amongst the leadership at Michigan? No. Was he beloved? No. Was he fired? No. Was he asked to leave? No. Did they hint that he should look for a job? No, they did not. No, they did not. Let's see your sources then, Poncho. Fans, you guys, and I continue to tell you this. And to your credit, Wasikowski, you've kind of leaned back to the middle a little bit. It's probably because Doge failed, but whatever the reason, I'm kidding.
Quite the turn, huh?
You've leaned back towards the middle a little bit and kind of taken your emotions out of it. And as a Michigan State fan, I give you credit for that. But guys like Poncho, you make jackasses out of yourself when you say things that are just patently false. And you cannot back it up. It's crazy to me. No, Poncho. He was pulling the ripcord because he didn't want to go down with the plane. Problem is the chute was on fire when he leapt. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. I'm simply asking because that's the first I've heard of DEI being a cause for Ono. I think DEI has been a huge talking point. It was a huge talking point in the confirmation process at Florida. The main things that you hear about Santa Ono, and again, I have no life, so I followed the Santa Ono confirmation thing very closely. It was number one, it was Israel-Palestine. The way that those protests and marches on campus were handled, and I don't know what the right word, how you describe the fact that he just wouldn't get involved. And then when he did get involved, it was far too late, and the damage had been done. I think DEI was second, and then I think the scandals and one of the things that was specifically talked about was the legal fees Michigan paid. Again, here we are talking about universities and athletic bodies spending money. The amount of legal resources that were directed to defend the football program.
Yeah.
And you can, I'm sure there are transcripts, go find them. Like, there is no question that Santa Ono at Michigan was a president constantly riddled by his own controversies. He should have, and I think I'll give Detroit Sports Radio a little credit for this because it's their question. What if Jim Harbaugh had been suspended indefinitely without pay when the Connor Stallion scandal hit? Instead of trying to go to court and then getting an injunction hearing in front of a judge, and I know I've said this a million times, a judge who played football at Michigan and graduated from Michigan law, that was who was going to hear the Jim Harbaugh injunction to prevent the Big Ten suspension. But why didn't they? Because at the absolute last moment, after spending all the time and all the resources and money and time, Michigan pulled the injunction and let him be suspended. And that pissed people off.
Yep.
And how many universities across this country are we going to see? Washington State's another great example of this, where you have the faculty threatening a sit-in on a story that we broke first here on the Monty Show. The faculty and staff at Washington State showed up at Kirk Schultz's office. Remember the Nick Rolacock situation where wouldn't wear a mask, vaccination, blah, blah, blah. Remember all that?
Yes.
And all the money that was being spent on athletics and
The
then
coronavirus.
they threatened to do a sit-in at his office. He's not there. But all of a sudden, what happened later that day? Funny, out of the blue, Kirk Schultz released a letter saying that all spending had been frozen, pending review. How many times are we going to get to a place where we have faculty revolting against management at a university like Michigan, when the right thing to do would have been to suspend Jim Harbaugh indefinitely without pay, pending termination, because you cheated?